Hi everyone. Thank you for joining. Hi Sarah. Thank you for joining tonight. There will be some few people joining a little late today, and that's all because I was in Spain and we had a blackout, an electrical something collapse, a system collapse. So thank you for joining tonight's Shift, Align and Heal. This is going to be a very exciting 3 days that we will be doing the Shift, Align and Heal. So I'm going to tell you what Shift, Align and Heal is all about, why it started, and what to expect over the next 3 days. This recording will be available online too, because we are in recording. So just bear with me 1 second. Oh. Okay, I'm just going to pin it up like that so I don't get distracted. If you have any questions, please feel free to put it in the comment box below. Okay, and if people are joining, don't worry about getting distracted by them. I'm just going to carry on talking, and then we're going to have a questions and answers throughout this throughout the next hour. So this hour is going to be for 40 minutes to 1 hour. So hi everybody, once again, I am Leilah Mirza. I'm here to guide you through the shift, heal and align. So today is day 1. Today we're going to speak about why people often get stuck, why people are not creating the life that they require, or they subconsciously don't want, resistance. We're going to speak about everything that's going on in the human psyche, the subconscious mind, that stops us from manifesting and creating the life that we want. So I'm going to start by explaining my story, just a bit of a background of my story, how I got to where I am and what really happened, right? And then I'm going to break this down for you over the next 3 days to help you to shift and to heal a lot faster. And there's a reason why people get stuck in this process. And the simple reason is because people get stuck in the emotions, or they become stuck in the victim self, okay? So in 2018, some of you may have seen this in the newsletter. South Africa, one of the journalists decided to write an article and asked me to participate in an article for South Africa Bravery Women. So I was selected, so that was really, really nice. It was a privilege to be asked. So in 2003, I was 18. So I'm going to be 40 this year, yeah. So in 2003, I was 18. And my mum called me to the kitchen one day and she said to me, your life isn't in the UK. Your life isn't in South Africa. I'm going to give you £300 and you have to leave. You have to leave South Africa. You have to leave. And this is all we have right now. My father died when I was 10 years old in a car accident. It was very sudden. And a bit about a background of my lifestyle and what I was born into. So I was born in Cape Town, South Africa, and I came from a town called Stellenbosch, around Stellenbosch, Kuils River, Stellenbosch side. So what I saw growing up was an affluent lifestyle. My father was well off and we got everything we wanted. Then my father died, and in a sudden death at 37 in a car accident, and he never came back. So then we had to deal with the realization that my father died, left behind me, my mother, and my 2 sisters. One who was 5 years older and the other one who was 10 years younger. My mother then entered abusive relationships, marriages. I became very fearful from a very young age. I learned that the world isn't safe. I saw a lot of beliefs. I felt like, why is everything happening to me? And as a child, I started to self-harm myself very early. I still have the marks. I'd get cigarette butts from the ashtray at parties and I'd burn myself because I didn't know how to process pain. I never knew how to deal with emotions. So a lot of struggle between the ages of 11 up to the ages of 18. There were nights that I felt like really killing myself because I was feeling and sucking up the pain of everybody around me. So that was really hard. I was watching my mother jump from one abusive relationship to another where the man was kicking her out of the house my father built, and I had to really process that. So that was quite a lot and quite overwhelming as a 11-year-old child who has no understanding of the world or how to emotionally regulate her nervous system. So I saw my mother go from riches. She was a housewife of a husband, my father, who was really wealthy and had abundance. But because my father was under the influence of drinking, our life cover ceased, which means my mother lost everything. So we went from having everything to having nothing in like very fast. I can't even tell you the time scale that happened. Move along, story forward. A lot of dysfunction in my father's family. My father comes from a family of everyone's got a name, a label. So we'll get into labels later, which was a solicitor, a lawyer, and someone who was editing the law books in Cape Town. So my auntie was a magistrate of the head court in Cape Town and took some really big cases on. But amongst all of that and the wealth that they had within that family, I then saw a lot of dysfunction, sexual abuse, and incest from my grandfather. And then on my mother's side of the family, she came from the very humble beginning background. My mother never had a proper education, nor did she have anything to stand with. So long story short, I saw both worlds. I saw the richest and I saw the poorest. So then at 18, my mother called me to the kitchen, and I was a very anxious child. My hair was this short, it was shaved this short. I had no sense of identity, never had a voice, no confidence, scratches and marks all over the arms. My mother told me, Cape Town isn't for you. I just looked at her and I just thought it's another thing, and I was backed away to the UK. So my ancestors are in the UK, they're British. So I come from Dutch heritage. My grandmother on my mother's side was Chinese, Asian, and they're Scottish in our blood. So I came through ancestry. And when I came through, I had no sense of identity. I had no sense of self. When I would go to the shop, I would hand over money with shame, and my arms were shaking like this, and I'd hand over the money. I had no confidence, nothing inside. The woman I am now is the girl that was very lost as a child, but the woman I am now is what I was looking for as a child. I was looking for a guide. And when I was a child, I vowed to make the world a better place by helping everyone become their better selves, by shining light in everybody and seeing the beauty in everybody. So I entered a relationship. My first boyfriend was my ex-husband. Never been with anyone before in my whole life. He was a British Pakistani man. So my children look Asian, my two older children, right? And this is because obviously I married my ex-husband in 2005. 2 years after knowing him, no idea what love looked like, no idea what love meant. Long story short, they told me, now you have to become a Muslim and you have to convert, change your appearance, wear a scarf, and that did not feel aligned with me. So at that point, I said this wasn't for me. I started becoming really depressed, and all those demons started to surface, right? So when we suppress things and emotions, and we don't deal with our emotions, they start to leak. They start to infest. So just an example, if you are repressing anything, and a year later, you're still repressing something, all the strangled snakes will emerge and they'll have nothing to do with each other. So just imagine, I've used this metaphor before with some of my clients who I've coached, a jar of snakes. And every time you have an emotion, you put it in a jar. Eventually, those snakes have nowhere to go and they all come out. Even though each of that snake, which represent an emotion, has nothing to do with each other. So then in my life, what I decided to do, I had this awakening, and some may call it a spiritual awakening that has happened. So I had the awakening, and this awakening took me a lot deeper. I started questioning who am I? What is my purpose? What was I born for? Why am I here? I ran back to South Africa, and I then found out I was pregnant with my first child, and I ran away from England to South Africa. And then I got home and I said, Mom, I'm in a really unhappy marriage. I need to come home. My mom said, let's go to church and pray about it, because I was born into a very religious background. So I went to church, the priest prayed for me, and he actually told me, you have a lot of courage. There's something about you that is brave, just the way you come across. And I had faith. So as a child, I always knew there was something a lot deeper. There was something a lot bigger within me. I just didn't know how to access this. I knew there was a bigger picture. But as a child, I was also very intuitive. But this is what trauma does to you. Trauma, if you've gone through a trauma experience, it heightens your receptors, which is your ability to see, feel, taste, smell. So anyone who's gone through a traumatic experience would have an ability to feel, to see a lot more. They would sense, because your body goes into hypervigilance, right? So it's like you're walking down the road and I'll scream, example, your name, Candace or Kelly. And all of a sudden, because your senses are usually, in your nervous system is always in fight and flight, you'll quickly look around, because that's a sign that your nervous system is not regulated, and this is because of a traumatic experience. But amongst all of that, I knew I was quite empathic, because I could walk in a room, I could read people as a child, and I could see people's purpose. I knew what people were here to do and to become, and that was one of my gifts. So then I fell pregnant, and my mother told me, let's pray about it. I don't know what you're going to do. And then my ex-husband then said to me, you have to come back, because you're carrying our child and we're going to work this out together. And I shouldn't have listened, but I came back and it didn't get better. I came back to my in-laws' house, who is, remember, they are obviously Pakistani, British, who told me, your son is going to have the name that we give. So there's a form of control that was happening. So again, I never felt quite comfortable with this experience, and then I ran away, and this time for good. And when I ran away, I was working in a bank. So once again, I had limited money. I didn't have any form of control. So I was in fight and flight. And the symptoms of fight and flight responses, the lack comes up. You're on struggle. You're on survival. Okay. And then when my ex-husband came looking for me 1 year later, after I ran, he came back 1 year later. I had nothing. I was a pregnant single mom working in a bank, depending on Santander to pay me. I was working in finance. Came back to my ex-husband, of course, because I'm always trying to do the right thing, and I felt like I needed to be noble. And nothing changed. So this is where my journey really started. I knew the only thing I had was my mind. So whilst working in Santander, my boss, my branch manager told me, you know what, you are a remarkable woman. There's something within you that really radiates a lot of authority, confidence, and power. And he kind of molded that confidence within me without realizing that. And before, I was top salesperson across the region. This was working in the branch. That then was his word. So he spoke some positive congruence, we would call that, into me, and that gave me life. That made me want to become better. Anyway, then my journey started. I started going home every day, and I started visualizing. I'm cleaning. I lived in a very small flat in Southampton. I was paying £850 a month. I was taking home £1,400, and I was living from paycheck to paycheck, pregnant. I had no window in my kitchen, so every day I'd come and I'd do the dishes, and I'd visualize my children playing outside in the garden, and I'd have a massive window. And this is where the journey really started. And guess what? I got money. I got through an investment that came through. My father's will came through later. It wasn't a big amount, because remember, I am from South Africa and there's an exchange rate, right? So I got money that's come through, and with that money, it went towards my new house. So I manifested this. This was the law of intention, right? But I can speak to you about the law of intention over the next few days, and I'll tell you, you're probably doing it really wrong. And I know the shortcut to this, and this is why I've decided to do shift, heal, and align. So I was visualizing every day. I manifested 20,000 to 30,000. I had two shops that I invested in, and then I went to Australia. But first I went to Australia and then I came back. I worked in Australia for 1 year, and then I came back to the UK, and everything basically opened up for me. But in 2014, what I didn't mention was I started studying counseling, hypnotherapy, and my modalities just opened up. I started with counseling at college. Then I went into doing my foundation, my diploma, and then I went into doing the degree. And then I realized that this wasn't for me. There was no human connection. And that's when I started studying spiritual and holistic coaching and then life coaching. Alongside those modalities, I found incredible modalities that helped me to open up people and to assist people. And remember, I was saving all my money and then putting it into a course, and saving all my money and then putting it into a course. Then eventually I took the plunge and I divorced my ex-husband, and he never contributed to anything. I was child tax credits, I was depending on child benefit, and I was literally living in lack, right? At that point in 2014. And as I was studying, I started listening to The Power of the Subconscious, Napoleon Hill, and all of these things really sparked lights within me. I started really studying what I was learning. On that journey, that process, I then managed to manifest myself a sports car, because I wanted a sports car at that point. And then I manifested another car, and then I manifested my husband, and then I manifested, I manifested my twins, right? There was a part of me that didn't want to have babies until I was in Australia. And then I found out I was pregnant with twins. And then I said, if I'm pregnant with twins, I hope they're going to be girls. And they are. They're both girls, because I have a son. And my experience with my son really showed me what I had with my first husband. I was extremely devastated as a single mother. I didn't know how to regulate my son. I was overwhelmed. And all of these experiences really helped me. So today I have the beautiful opportunity that I can travel like every month or every other month, and I can help people across the world from anywhere they are. I could create a great income, but also I can help. This is more important. I can truly help shift people and help them to become in alignment by seeing where they are, right? So this is all the work that I do and my story. Some of you wouldn't have known my story because some of you may come from a clinical background with me, or some of you have just seen me on Instagram, wherever you have come from, right? So I wanted to share my story, that I wasn't born into wealth naturally and then inherited a lot of my father's money and then became something. I actually came from nothing. And then I ended up having all these amazing opportunities, and now I can help. So over this few days, I want to explain to you why people really struggle to create, right? We have to shift the emotion or what keeps people stuck in creating. And one of the core things that keep people stuck in creating is the story. And I've been there. I've had this. We go over the story over and over and over again. So what we then do, that story becomes our narrative, right? So whatever it is you're looking to create, if it's a business, if you're looking to create healing within yourself, or if you're looking to create stronger relationships, there's a reason, because everything is interconnected, even to your money story. Your money story will go back to your childhood story, right? Of what you saw as a child. How was money spoken about? Your relationship, how you feel when the money comes up. Does it bring anxiety up? Does it bring stress up? You know, all these things will go in deeper over the next 3 hours, basically 3 days, right? So they're all interconnected. So I'm here to shine a light on that, to help to show you you are actually living in struggle or in lack. You're going over and over the emotion or the narrative, because people were actually, you were born, believe this or not, you were born rich. There's science that shows this, right? Richness starts in your mental state. The richness starts in your mind. The stories that you create comes from lack, and lack comes from fear. What if I don't have enough, right? What if this is going to happen? What if I cannot do that? What if I can't pay my bills? So a lot of the stories that we create comes from our own narrative. And those stories is what keeps you stuck, because you are meant to have an abundance. Your life is in abundance. So whatever you believe in, whether it's science or religion, there's backed proof to show you you are in abundance. If you read the book Neville Goddard, I will write it in the bio in the script. He was ancient writer, and he speaks about we become what we think, right? So I spoke life into my life. I spoke life into my business. I spoke life into what I'm driving. I spoke life into what I'm creating. You can become and do whatever you want to, but you create excuses. I can't. You create the narrative of someone who told you this, right? Your mother may have told you this when you were a child. You'll equate to nothing. Maybe you're not worthy. Maybe you're not enough. Maybe you can't do something. You've learned all these stories as a child, right? And what you've started to do as a child is you've started to play the character of this emotion. And how this looks like is, let's say, for example, and I think I've used this before, if a snake bites you, if you're walking in a forest or in a field and a snake bites you, do you ask the snake, why did you bite me? Or do you find a way to heal and find a place where you can get healing for that snake? Or you can run after the snake and say, why do you bite me? That is a victim mindset. The one that needs the validation, the one that keeps questioning, what if, why? That creates the archetype within us that is the victim. Victim archetypes, I'm not saying that you are victims, but I'm saying that you could be running an archetype, which is an innate storyteller. It's a survival instinct that keeps you going. Why do people run victim archetypes? I'll explain to you. Because they believe if they're the victim, on some level in their mind, this might not be consciously, someone will save them, love them, or rescue them, or give them that validation. So we run the victim archetype, right? But you can't have abundance if you're going to have a victim archetype. You cannot live in your full alignment in power. For you to be in alignment and in abundance, you cannot have an archetype trying to rescue you. That is called the victim archetype. If we have any questions, just pop it in the box and I will read it afterwards and we can have questions and answers. So it's a narrative that keeps us stuck. The narrative is a story, right? The story. We go over the story when it doesn't even need to serve us anymore, right? We look for a different perspective from the story. How does the story serve you? So 3 questions I would ask my clients. When my clients would come to me and my clients would tell me, we are stuck, I would ask my client, how does this story serve you, right? What are you learning from this experience? Okay, so those are the questions that I would ask you. I would ask you to think about, what are you learning from the story? How does the story serve you? And what are you feeling from this? What do you feel? How do you feel about it? Because it's an emotion that needs to be recognized. Because emotions is energy in motion, which is a chemical response from the brain. And that emotion only lasts 90 seconds. But what happens in the process, we hold on to that emotion, okay? And that emotion then controls us. We are meant to feel our emotions, not live in the emotion, right? So when people feel pain and sadness, they either run from the emotion, or what they do is they swim in the emotion and they get stuck in that emotion. Another thing that they do is they try to heal the emotion. But you cannot heal your emotion. You have to feel the emotion, and you have to accept that these are emotions. You can't heal sadness, because sadness is just an emotion which needs to be accepted and has a requirement. There's an underlying requirement from every emotion that we feel. So today I just want to speak to you about my story and about why we get stuck in creating the life we want. What is the goal? Tomorrow, what I'm going to work on is the shifting. Tomorrow, what I'm going to work on is allowing you to shift through those emotions. And you can look at that for yourself and just see, this is the emotion, this is where I'm at, and this is what is required. So that's where we are today. So I want you to look at your emotions and your life today. And I want you to ask yourself, what are you holding on to, right? What is the story telling you? What are you learning from this experience? So whatever that is, whatever you're looking to create, I want you to actually ask yourself, what are you learning from this experience? And how does this experience make you feel? Once you have that, this is called self-awareness, which takes you into self-acceptance. And then we will start to work into that roots tomorrow. So, does anyone have any questions? Bear with me one moment. I know someone is stuck in the room. I've just got someone who's stuck and actually can't enter, so okay. I don't think they'll be able to make it. Okay, anyway, that's not working. That's fine. It is on record. So I was just trying to teach you about the shifting, what happens in the shifting, and why we struggle to shift. Tomorrow, I really want to take you into the alignment and how to go into healing and then aligning. So in order for us to align and to become where we need to become, we need to envision what it is to become and to work on that frequency of what that looks like and not focus on the story. Because the reason why people become stuck is because they're not clear and they don't have clarity of what they're looking for and what they want to become. So when a lot of people come and work with me, I ask them, can you give me clarity of what you're actually trying to achieve, whether it's business or in your personal life? If you're healing, what are you trying to achieve, right? We need to understand clarity, because within clarity, there's wisdom. Within clarity, there's a gift. So I just want you to take that away for today. And if you are around tomorrow, please come back and continue coming on to Zoom tomorrow so we can go in a lot more deeper. Today, I really want to go into exploring what it's like to shift and how you can shift and the power of truly shifting. A is shifting the emotion, feeling the emotion. What are you learning? What is this teaching you? And lastly, how do you feel? So those 3 questions. The next one is clarity. What does clarity look like for you? What would you like to become? What is it you'd like to achieve? And within this, I need you to become specific. Tomorrow, we're going to speak about fear. How fear keeps you stuck, right? How fear of dreaming big Playing small keeps you stuck. Where this started and why. So tomorrow we're going to look into your childhood by just me speaking, and I'm going to ask you questions to explore. And then the last day, we're going to look at alignment. So this tonight was just your introduction to the start of Shift, Heal, and Align. If you did get anything from this, please give me a thumbs up or point anything down into the chat box. And then I really look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow evening. Amazing. Thanks, Joe. It's lovely to see you. Nice, Karen. I can see you. Thank you. I hope you've got a lot from this. If you have any questions, thanks, Sarah. Okay, thanks. If you have any questions, get your questions down. Your homework for today is I want you to become clear. On day 3, I'm going to bring you online and I will laser coach you for 10 minutes why you're stuck, where you are, why you are where you are, and what you need to do to shift. So I'm going to have a hot seat laser coaching on day 3, but I hope I will see you all tomorrow. Thank you, Dee. I'm so glad that this resonated with you. I'm so excited for you, all your healing journeys. So thank you for coming today, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. See you tomorrow, Joe. Thank you, everybody. Bye.